Welcome back, everyone. We're on page EX 91 of the Shelley Cashman series, Microsoft Office 365 Excel 2016, the intermediate edition by Freudenstaats. At the bottom of page EX 91 to change column width, and the top of page EX 92. Step 1. Drag through column headings A, B, and C above row 1 to select the columns. So that's just a matter of putting your cursor right exactly where the column headings are, the letters A, B, and C, and just dragging from A to C. Point to the boundary on the right side of column heading C to cause the pointer to become a split double arrow. So that's what this looks like right here. Step 2, double-click the right boundary of column heading C to change the width of the selected columns to best fit. And then point to the right boundary of the column H heading above row 1. When the pointer changes to a split double arrow, drag until the screen tip indicates width 10.25 or 87 pixels. Do not release the mouse button. And so let's go ahead and we'll drag here up to 10.25, keeping the mouse button pressed down, and then up on page EX 93, step 3. Release the mouse button to change the column width. Click the column D heading above row 1 to select the column. While holding down the Control key, click the column E heading and then the column 1 heading above row 1 so that non-adjacent columns are selected. So I don't know why the pixels was a little off here, but in row H we wanted to go out to 87 pixels. Should we go by the pixels or the width? Let's go by the pixels, so I'll move this down to 87. Try to 87 pixels, and the width looks like it's not 10.25, but I'll just go with the pixels over here, so 87 pixels. Okay, well, that looks too small. Okay, let's go back to 10.25. No, this looks like maybe a typo in the book. Okay, so if you find out the resolution of your screen is like this many pixels by this many pixels, that's the count of the number of little individual dots. Like if you ever have gotten a drop of water on your phone and you can see it's like super magnified and you see the little tiny pixels that each have their own unique color. And then when you put it all together, there are so many pixels that it looks like one image. But anyway, that's the measurement of a pixel. And your screen has a certain number of, this many pixels wide by this many pixels long. Okay. So on page EX 93, step 3, release the mouse button to change the column width. Click the column D heading above row 1 to select the column. And while holding down the Control key, click the column E heading and the column I heading so that above row 1 so that non-adjacent columns are selected. So we want to select columns D, E, and I. And you can do that just by holding down the Control key and clicking the column label, just the letter above the column. Point to the boundary on the right side of the column I heading above row 1. And drag until the screen tip indicates width 7.5 or 65 pixels. So I guess let's go with 7.5 again. Do not release the mouse. Okay, and step 4, release the mouse. Whoops, I just did that anyway. And that's to change the column widths. And it looks like D, E, and I all have the same width now. And then click the column F heading and drag to select the column G heading. So click the column F heading and then you can just drag over to column G over in the column headings area. And while holding down the control key, excuse me, while holding down the control key, excuse me, okay, let me go back. Click the column J heading and drag to select the column K heading above row 1 so that the non-adjacent columns are selected. Drag the right boundary of column G until the screen tip indicates width 11.0, 93 pixels. Alright, and we were just going with the number before the pixels, so 11. 11. Click anywhere in the worksheet, such as cell A18, to deselect the columns. To change row height, on page EX94, step 1, point to the boundary below row heading 3 until the pointer becomes a split double arrow. Drag down until the screen tip indicates height 48. That means we can fit a letter that is font size 48. And don't release the mouse button until step 2. Release the mouse button to change the row height. Point to the boundary below row heading 14 until the pointer becomes a split double arrow, and then drag downward until the screen tip indicates height 27. Step 3, release the mouse button to change the row height. Click anywhere in the worksheet, such as cell A18, to deselect the current cell. On page EX95, checking spelling, continuing on to page EX96 to check spelling on the worksheet. Step 1. Click cell A3 and then type employee to misspell the word, or employee, so to transpose the O and the L. Select cell A2 so that the spelling checker begins at the selected cell. Click Review on the ribbon to display the Review tab. And the Review ribbon's awesome. By the way, you can actually translate it to another language, do a bunch of cool stuff. Review stuff if you're working on something collaboratively with someone else. Click Review on the ribbon to display the Review tab, and then click the Spelling button in the Review tab in the Proofreading group to use the spelling checker to display the misspelled word in the spelling dialog box. So that's this button here in the proofing group. It just looks like a check mark with ABC. And then step 2, verify that the word highlighted is in the suggestion is correct. Yes, looks correct. Click the Change button in the spelling dialog box to change the misspelled word to the correct word. Click the Close button to close the spelling dialog box. If a Microsoft Excel dialog box is displayed, click the OK button. It looks like I didn't have to click the Close button. I just clicked Yes to check the rest of the worksheet, and then the spell check completed, and it closed automatically. Either way is fine. On page EX97, step 3, click anywhere in the worksheet, such as cell A18, to deselect the current cell. Display the Home tab, save the workbook again on the same storage location with the same file name. Here we have autosave on, but if it were off, I'll stop reminding you, but you can just go to File Save. Page EX97, printing the worksheet. Step 1's on page EX98 to change the worksheet's margins, header, and orientation in Page Layout view. Click the Page Layout button on the status bar to view the worksheet in Page Layout view. That's down here in the bottom right. We've got hovering over it. An option to change the layout to page layout view. There we go. And then on page EX99, by the way, the icon, it looks like a rectangle with like a little sheet of paper with some lines in the middle. Page EX99, step 2, display the page layout tab, click the Adjust Margins button in the page layout tab in the page setup group to display the margins gallery. So here I've clicked the page layout tab, and now let's click the Adjust Margins button. And here's the margins gallery. Click Narrow in the margins gallery. This is step 3 on page EX99. To change the worksheet margins to the narrow margin style, click the center of the header area above the worksheet title. Type Jane Smith and then press the Enter key. Type Chief Financial Officer to complete the worksheet header. If requested by your instructor, type your name instead of Jane Smith. Oh, I spelled Jane wrong. No, this is fine, Jane Smith. And then select cell A6 to deselect the header. What else can you place in the header? Well, the header is just this area at the top of the worksheet. The opposite of the header is, do you know what the word is? Yeah, if you said footer, then that's exactly right, which would be this little area at the bottom of the worksheet. You can display lots of different information in the header. You can put additional text, page number information, date and time information, the file path of a workbook, so where it's saved on your computer, like if it's in C/users, /documents. Okay. The file name of the workbook, which for us, what is the file name? Say Olivia's Art Supply Gallery or Salary Report. Or the sheet tab, which for us, what is the sheet tab name? Here, the sheet tab name, we can see a salary report. You can even add pictures to a header. On page EX99, step 4, display the page layout tab. Click the Change Page Orientation button in the page layout tab in the page setup group to display the Change Page Orientation gallery. Step 5, click Landscape in the Change Page Orientation gallery. And that will change the worksheet's orientation to landscape. To print a worksheet on page EX100, step 1, click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view. Click the Print tab in the Backstage view to display the print gallery. Step 3, if necessary, click the Printer Status button in the Print gallery to display a list of available printer options, and then click the desired printer to change the currently selected printer. I'll select Lexmark, MB2400 Series XL. Step 4, click the No Scaling button and then select Fit Sheet on one page to select it. Step 5, click the Print button in the Print gallery to print the worksheet in landscape orientation on the currently selected printer. And it looks like I might have to go back just for a second because this thick outside border doesn't look like it's being applied to cells A1 to A2, so that's no problem. You can just select it. And then apply this thick outside border. And then let's try File, Print again. Fit on one sheet, narrow margins. So the last change we made looks like it's still in there. And this looks like what we would expect here. Oh, I think I see what happened also. So something I did is the background for these column headers. So this is kind of helpful to see it in this view. Shouldn't have had any change. So we can just go here, to the theme colors, and then no fill. So in this fill color gallery here. How does it look like what it's supposed to look like? Go File, Print again. And yeah, this looks right. Okay. What if we didn't want to print all of the data in the worksheet? We just wanted to print a subset of the data. To print a section of the worksheet on page EX 101. And by the way, I suppose I should finish this off by just clicking print here. Step 1. Select the range to print cells A3 to F16 in this case. So let's say that we just wanted to define a certain area of the worksheet to be printed, which is cells A3 to F16. Close this little notification that the printout went through, and then let's go ahead and with that subset selected, A3 to F16, click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view. Click the Print tab to display the print gallery. Click Print Active Sheets in the Settings area in the Print tab in the Print gallery. To display a list of options that determine what Excel should print. Step 2 on page EX 102. Click Print Selection to instruct Excel to print only the selected range. Click the Print button in the Print gallery to print the selected range of the worksheet on the currently selected printer. Click the Normal button on the status bar to return to normal view. So here we go, it's just this little grid down in the status bar. And click anywhere in the worksheet, such as cell A18, to deselect the range A3 to F16. I'll close out of this once more. And the bottom of page 102, displaying and printing the formulas version of the worksheet. This is super helpful if you wanted to see what formulas are being applied and calculated behind the scenes. So in other words, here we see a bunch of calculations. Well, they're the result of what formulas? So to answer that question, just go ahead and on page EX 103, step 1, to display the formulas in the worksheet and fit the printout on one page, press the Control and accent mark, that's the key right below the Escape key, right above the Tab key, to display the worksheet with formulas. So Control and then this accent mark key, and now we can see, whereas before we saw the result of the formulas, now we're seeing the formulas themselves. Click the right horizontal scroll arrow until column K appears. I just, anyway, scrolled, just using 2 fingers, but either way, it's fine. And then on page EX 103, step 2, click the Page Setup dialog box launcher in the Page Layout tab in the Page Setup group to display the Page Setup dialog box. I think I was supposed to leave it over here. The higher dates, you can see actually they lost their formatting. It's not permanent. You can toggle back and forth by clicking Control and that accent mark key once again. But the higher dates are displayed in how Excel thinks of dates, which is just as whole numbers. And then the formats are just kind of like superficial changes that we see applied to those whole numbers that represent a date. Step 2 on page EX 103, click the Page Setup dialog box launcher in the Page Layout tab. So that's this little dialog box launcher here in the bottom right of the Page Setup group. And here we see the Page Setup dialog box. If necessary, click Landscape in the Orientation area in the Page tab to select it. Looks like Landscape's already selected, so we can ignore that step. And if necessary, click the Fit to Option button in the Scaling area to select it. So that's already selected for us, but if it weren't for you, go ahead and select that button. Step 3 on page EX 104, click the Print button in the Page Setup dialog box. To open the Print tab in the Backstage view. In the Backstage view, select the Print Active Sheets option in the Settings area of the Print gallery. and click the print button to print the worksheet. Here, because the formulas take up a little, they're a little wider than the results, when we toggle on this formulas view by pressing Control and the accent key, things, got a little smaller to fit on one page, but that's fine. This could be super useful, especially if we notice something anomalous in our worksheet and want to go back and verify the formula. Okay, go ahead and close this little dialog box over here, and then on the bottom of page EX104, step 4, after viewing and printing the formulas version, press Control and the accent mark to instruct Excel to display the values version. So here we'll toggle back, and click the left horizontal scroll arrow until column A appears. I was supposed to click this arrow, but really any way to get back to column A is totally fine. At the bottom of page EX104, to change the print scaling option back to 100%, step 1, if necessary, display the page layout tab and then click the page setup dialog box launcher in the page layout tab in the page setup group to display the page setup dialog box. Click the adjust to option button in the scaling area to select the adjust to setting. If necessary, type 100 in the adjust to box and adjust the print scaling to 100%. Step 4, click the OK button in the page setup dialog box to set the print scaling to normal. Step 5, on page EX105, display the Home tab. Step 6, save the workbook again on the same storage location with the same file name. We have autosave on. Step 7, if desired, sign out of your Microsoft account. I'll skip that here, and then on page EX105, step 8, exit Excel. So just as a short summary, in this module, we entered formulas into a worksheet. Those were things like equals D4 times E4, and we entered functions into the worksheet. Those were things like equals average, and then passing in a range as the argument to that average function. We verified formulas in the worksheet. One way to verify formulas in the worksheet is to press Control and the accent mark key. And we formatted the worksheet, checked spelling, and saw ways to print the worksheet. Last but not least, just a little piece of interesting information to leave off with. The term debugging, so to go back and check your work and look for errors, is said to have originated with famed computer programmer Grace Hopper, inventor of the COBOL programming language, who traced a computer malfunction to a bug, a moth, in the machine.